Hi, I'm Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity. It is Wednesday, October 8th, 2014, and I'm here with your weekly update. A lot going on in the world. One of the things we're tracking, of course, are the markets, the equity markets in the United States, Europe, Japan, other places, looking at these markets as potentially topping here. And, you know, we've got the technical reasons. We look at the charts. We understand that we saw something called the death cross on the Russell 2000 a while back. A lot of people saw that as well, looking at it. And the Russell 2000, the small cap index, has continued to fall. We had a 30-point decline in the S&P yesterday. A lot of volatility is increasing. Look, there's some potentially fundamental reasons for this. We think that Europe is now slipping into a double-dip recession with Germany at the core. Following along, France probably already there. All of Southern Europe has been there for a while. Japan, same sort of a circumstance. Those are the fundamental reasons. We think we see the slowing, but the big reason that's really not, I don't think, been talked about nearly enough is that this is October, a traditional month for equity sort of disturbances anyway, but this October is extra special because the Fed is stopping its quantitative easing programs, winding it down to zero this month. Now, you look at the last 3 years of quantitative easing, there's been almost a ruler straight line in the equity markets as they've gone up. They correlate very tightly with the growth in the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, but that's stopping for now. So what happens next? Well, we think that without that fuel, without the fundamental reasons to support these mile-high, sky-high valuations in the stock market, that there will be a lot of weakness there. That's the process that started right now. We're also still continuing to track as best we can what is happening in Ukraine and with MH17, the shoot-down of the Malaysian airline that happened over eastern Ukraine. There is almost no news in the Western news cycles that you can find about that. I mean, even as CNN is rapidly trying to figure out what to do about MH370, which is the missing plane that disappeared somewhere maybe we think over the Indian Ocean a few months back, they want to continue their laser focus on that when MH17 has completely disappeared from their news cycle. It's very odd that that should happen because remember, that incident, the shoot down of the MH17 airliner, was used as the reason to demonize and marginalize Russia. Now we get interesting again because it's October. This is the onset of the fall and then winter seasons in Europe. This is when Russia has a lot of leverage. Wander with me for a second, though, over to the oil markets, and we're seeing there a very, very vigorous collapse in the price of oil, pretty much ever since Russian sanctions got imposed, possibly coincidental, but it certainly raises a few questions as to why we'd have seen a 20% decline in the price of world oil over these last few months. Stories out there about abundant supplies, but even with abundant supplies, that's a very rapid drop in a short period of time. So this is obviously going to hurt U.S. shale drillers, other producers. It's going to hurt the nations most who are dependent on oil revenues. Yes, that hurts Russia. Also hurts Saudi Arabia, hurts Mexico. In fact, hurts everybody who's an oil exporter in this story. So we're tracking that as well because that fits as well potentially with this idea that there is a global slowdown in play. Now, all of this is just actually noise. We think that all of this are symptoms. The disease itself is something we like to talk about, the underlying cause of this. Well, you know, when we do, that raises a lot of issues for a lot of people. Specifically, it's an emotionally laden topic to get into, to talk about really where we are in this human story, this human experiment here in 2014. Charles Hugh Smith has a brand new two-parter. It's up on the site, and it talks about the schizophrenia that's induced in us as we watch what the media is saying. So that creates one set of impressions in our mind, and what we're actually thinking and experiencing in another set. That dissonance, that cognitive dissonance is extraordinary and seems to be growing larger. So he talks about that, but the second part of this two-parter, there's a lot of gold in there. It's talking about how we're desperately seeking substance. How do we find meaning and fulfillment in these of all times? It's a real challenge and something that deserves our attention. Got to talk about it. Would love to have you over there for part of that discussion because this really is one of the most important things we can talk about. It's not just everything that's happening in the world, but how do we respond to that? That's what we're chewing on this week and in future weeks over at Peak Prosperity. So thank you for listening. Please join us over there, and we'll keep tracking all the noise because it is important, but we'd like to understand what the signal is under all of that. That's what we do for you. So thanks for listening. See you soon.